Yeah, it's been really hot out there. So today my face is very red actually. Okay, let's talk about making requests in a way that the person wants to say yes to you. Okay, there is an art to making requests. You might just think that it's as simple as like, oh, could you get me a cup of water? Could you bring this thing over for me, right? But for those of you who feel like I'm not going to ask for help because it's quicker if I do it myself. What if the person say no? I don't want to feel indebted. Then this episode is for you, okay? So when I said earlier about the art of making requests, right, there are actually different pointers that you want to cover when you think about asking for help. Okay, so what are they? So the first one is that you need to pick a person who is qualified to carry out your request. Okay, so like for example, right, let's say like I wanted to have someone to help me in tax filing for my business. No way will I pick a child like my kids to do it for me, right? Because they are not qualified. So pick a person that's qualified to do it, that you know that if they choose to say yes to your request for help, they are also in a good space to complete the request for you. Following with that is also that when you make a request to that person, right, make it as specific as possible. I've caught myself time and time again saying very general things like, oh, just follow up with that person that I last have a conversation with. But really, what does it mean by follow up? Because follow up could just mean like sending a text message, giving a phone call, or just even like, dropping an email. So be as specific and clear as you can because that leaves no doubt and no room for misinterpretation between what you want a person to do and what the person needs to do actually. Okay. Uh before and yet before you go to the person and ask about this request, right? You also want to think about where is the best environment to talk to the person about this request. If it's something simple like, hey kid, can you go and empty out the laundry from the washer? That's quite simple. You probably can say anytime. But if there are times where you know that your request needs a bit more time to explain through and you need the quietness and space to talk to the person about, then pick the best environment for that. Okay, pick the environment that there is quietness, there's room for the both of you to focus on the conversation as well. And in relation to environment, pick the best timing too. Okay. And also, when you talk to the person about wanting to speak to the person about this so-called mysterious request that you have, right? What would be really great is that, especially if your request is the kind that he or she needs to take up quite a bit of time to do it for you, ask the person, you know, are you able, would it be okay if I speak to you, let's say, like maybe tomorrow afternoon at this place, at what time? Because I want to ask you for help. Okay. So arrange it in advance. Don't just go out there and just, hi, can I talk to you right now? Here's a request. Can you do it or not? Because for some people, they need time to process it also. They need time after hearing what you said. They need time away from you to process it properly before they can come back to you with an answer or not. Okay. So if your request needs the kind of care and detail to it, ask to speak to a person at a time and date and environment in the near future. Okay. The very last thing I will also say is that when you have the conversation about the request, also have some kind of idea and have it agreed with their person if they're saying yes to helping you about how do you measure completion. So here's an example. About 3 years back, me and my husband, the whole family, we had to move out of our house because our house is going through renovation, right? So the thing is that and that was such a huge project because it took months to prepare for the renovation with the clean out all the clutter, with the arrange for, staying in a different place and all of that, yada, yada, yada. So one of the things that I was talking to my husband about is that let's kind of like this define, right? what is considered that this is considered as a completed task. So give the details, right? Now, like I say, everyone's made differently. We are wired very differently. Maybe for me, something that's completed could be like, oh, I've actually done A, B, C, D, E. But for somebody else, it could be a totally new picture altogether. Or it could be like, oh, I've done ABC and you're done. Some people are big picture, some people are detail oriented, right? So have a clear picture in mind and communicate that with your requestee. Also, what is considered as completion, and have them agree to it too. Okay. So if you follow all these tips, let me recap for you again. Okay. There is environment, timing, picking a qualified person, making the request as specific as possible, arrange a time agreeable to the other party to speak about this request, and how do you measure completion of the task. Okay. If you can manage to do all this as you prepare to talk to the person of request, I'm pretty sure you have a pretty high chance of getting the person to say yes and having that task done to your satisfaction.